winner gets qualified for the closed series. Loser, though, still actually does have a second chance, as the bottom 4 teams out of this matchup will play up against each other to try to figure out who are the 5th and 6th overall teams to get qualified for UMG's closed qualifier next week. And Ryan, we're getting Ascent for map number 1, which was a bit puzzling and a bit surprising, I think, for both of us, considering that Immortals just previously had a little bit of a rough go on it versus Spot Up.
Yeah, and it was their choice as far as we understand. So Dignitas are going to be attacking first. A fairly straightforward standard lineup from them, to be honest. Everything seems to be looking to plan. But I'm really excited to see Sam versus Shot Up on this Reyna versus Reyna in this game. This is a map that Immortals picked and just lost, as we saw, as they played up against Spot Up. So it's a big question mark. Dignitas banned out Bind, and he also picked Split, which will be map number 2. But this should be an interesting one. Mixed results for both of them, and in a similar sort of style. Big names, big organizations backing these players, and there's been some significant changes on either side. Poised and Shanks from Dignitas no longer playing a part, and of course Immortals near enough cleaning house with Asuna, Dicey, and Cola all going to pastures new. Both these new rosters have promise. They certainly could be belonging in the closed qualifiers from UMG, but they have to face off against each other first.
And the interesting thing here is the fact that we are going to be getting essentially a mirror matchup, the only difference being the Killjoy and the Cypher for both of our squads. Both teams, as of recently, have been trying to prefer to get into the Reyna, which has been finding a lot of favor on this map since, really, everyone started to realize that the individual prowess that Reyna brings to the table is pretty incredible when it comes to trying to open up these sites, especially on offense, which is what Dig will be tasked with first. And immediately, Orderus will pick up the first ultimate orb, working for a potential Blade Storm. And for all intents and purposes, this is looking like a design towards A. And for Immortals, they're starting to recognize the potential threat as they're going to rotate 2 members over, as Shot Up has actually pushed himself into B main to play a little bit more aggressively towards the B site.
Yeah, and they've got the tripwire in mid too, so they're quite comfortable letting that go. The double stack up in trade, this Aldron is going to meet them head on, and the paranoia could be key coming out of Stani in this position. The tripwire is going to be given up. The paranoia does come through, and no movement from Dig here.
Yeah, this is all just as a little bit of a bait off the Aldron, but Immortals again playing aggressively. They already got a little bit of damage already put through. So now it just comes down to, can they hold this ground? But look at the rotation to the middle of the map. Does anyone actually know this is here? Dignitas is wrapping around through mid-market. They take care of Shot Up. They isolate jmoh. But if Neptune finds a kill, at least he'll be able to re-wrap through this. It just comes down to, can jcStani find good combination kills with Genghsta? We thought maybe, but Psalm was able to find a double, get the overheal, and the last one left alive is Neptune. Can't make anything else occur from here, and Dignitas will win the pistol.
It was a really nice B split coming out of Dignitas, having pressure towards mid, pincering these defenders from Immortals that pushed up B main. And it was a nice response from Immortals to be lurking in mid to take all of that information coming out of, I think it would be Neptune with the Frenzy that was able to spot out at least Orderus rotating around. And it could have been a little bit awkward there for Dignitas. They were caught out as they were pushing onto the B site. The spike was dropped, but it was a nice change of composure to make sure that they could keep control. No force coming out of the defending team of Immortals. They're going to be sitting very close, actually, with Shot Up playing very far down mid.
A little bit of interesting history between these two teams. You talked about the switch up of a couple of players. How about the fact that both teams are representing what was the Morning Light roster from a couple of months ago? It's a little bit of rivalry maybe being established between both of these squads just on the fact that their pickups have been from the same squad from back in August. So now that Dignitas with the weapon advantage find first blood, they will make their execute call pretty quickly to get onto A, and they should be able to do that pretty successfully as there's no one really to contest the spike plant.
Yeah, it's not likely with the guns that they have that they would be facing in this fashion. Yeah, I'm going to try and get in behind, but some nice lurking play out of depth. He's got the alarm bot there, the turret too. He's keeping these players in a bit of a tight angle, and he's able to get his third kill, and MAKKA's able to clean up house too. It's just going to be Genghsta, not even going to be fighting people towards the site, mostly orbiting around to see if he can get an exit frag, but it's not likely with the fact that Super, Sam, all came in to sort of pressure him, and a flawless round, an important one considering their bye.
And it's one of those things that, you know, just to kind of hit, this is kind of a basic thing, I think, for a lot of people that are out there, but when you go into a second round after you win the pistol, The amount of pressure that you put onto your opponents if you get a flawless win like this is incredible. Take a look at the economy right here for Immortals. Sure, they're going to have 5 Phantoms, or probably 4 Phantoms and a Vandal, but 3 members completely zeroed out. Another with light armor. This is a great advantage for Dig. Even though you're going into just 5 Spectres and full armor, you're going to have all of your kit available to you, and pending that you can steal away a Phantom or a Vandal or 2, you're going to be feeling pretty positive about the impact that you could have here in round number 3. And it looks like for right now, Dignitas are setting up for what looks to be a B hit. And Immortals are playing very heavily over the middle of the map. Technically 4 players nearby. The execute looks to be coming through as the dark covers, Cloudburst, and everything else seems to be coming out. Neptune just spamming will fortunately find 1 kill for IMT. But still with this, they're going to be forced to try to find a retake as the spike will likely go down.
Orderus gets very close and personal and is able to get the kill onto Shut Up. jmoh trades him out at least. It's good marketplace control, but look how far facing Dignitas are, specifically depth right in this little corner on the left. jcStani is going to try and clear off B main. There is nobody there on the side of Dig, but they are trying to get ever close. Even the players playing on site are holding right on Catwalk. Sam is able to face and go in a bit more, but now the cleanup is good for Immortals. I appreciate the play from Dignitas. They didn't have the good guns when it came to the range of them, so they're playing close quarters. But Immortals treated that with a lot of respect and take the round.
A bit odd, though, I think, just to kind of hit the same point, the fact that you're playing close quarters, but you're playing it aggressively to play for early trades, trying to keep your member alive right outside that mid-marketplace. But the fact of the matter is they don't get those trades. Immortals are able to clean up, and they have, obviously, from there, plenty of time to get a free defuse. Very regularly, when you see a post plant set up towards B, in instances where there are SMGs that are available, you look at one player who sits more passively in B main and essentially backs away, making sure that, hey, my presence is here, but you have to chase me if you want to get my kill. And then the rest of the members will be positioned somewhere on the backside of B arches, just playing for each other's trades. But that time, it's everyone playing aggressive through the hallway, and it doesn't really pan out maybe as successfully as Dignitas were hoping for. But I agree with you, the creativity is definitely something to kind of keep in mind as we get into round number 4, and Immortals now all of a sudden on the board with good weapons still held on to going into round number 4.
A split execute looking to be the play for Dignitas. The Eldron is going to be the one to see what they can find, who's going to be playing where. Genghsta uses his own. His position is going to be given up, so it means that he's going to have to back off of this angle. Uses the recon bolt just to stall Dignitas at this point, but they're making their way onto the A main site.
Genghsta tries to actually push through this. Shot up on the site itself will find 1 kill. It's an instant trade. The recon bolt is not going to find information on Genghsta as he gets into a dark cover. Spike is trying to go down. It will go down successfully. Now 4v4, door starting to close, but Immortals will delete it, trying to open up some opportunity to get into the site quickly. But Dignitas are positioned in a pretty solid position. You've got one player in Psalm playing very defensively over through A main, and then a split as far as where the post plant setup on the site itself is. So Immortals, how are you going to break through this? jmoh's got a ton of utility left, including all 3 of his cloud bursts. Shot up top, no more leers. Just tries to take a peek, and he finds the kill plus the dismiss. Now down low. Neptune able to combine, but it's MAKKA, the last one left over towards the doorway. He's in a 1v2 situation. Gets the read off his recon bolt, knows he's being challenged, finds the first, looking for the last. All you have to do is shoulder this, and he will take it. The last bullet, MAKKA for 4. Dignitas takes the offense.
Ooh, and he just survives there at the end. That was some really impressive play from both sides. I was a little bit concerned with Immortals because they were very slow for the retake. They didn't face too much, but as soon as they broke on, they got so many kills. Nice play from MAKKA. Recon Bolt giving up so much information and just taking this fight, making them guess. That final bullet was a perfect headshot, exactly what Dignitas needed. Immortals are forced to save.
Unbelievable for MAKKA right there. I mean, he was stuck between a rock and a hard place, but Immortals just weren't really confirming if they wanted to play for a double chow to try to take care of him or play for the spike defuse, and it cost them. Now jcStani, almost an opportunity to lock down a sheriff kill, but Tailwind will deny the opportunity. As Neptune gets caught mid-map, he will fall, and Dignitas will come away with a 5v4 early advantage here in round 5.
Stani trying to make a pixel perfect angle work out, but he goes down to 10 HP. Nothing really too lethal on the side of Dignitas. 4 ultimates too, so they're banked up for the next few rounds at least to try and make plays. But even here, they're certainly not disrespecting their opponents. They've slowed down the play. They don't know quite what guns Immortals have. They could be holding buckies around corners. So everything is being extra careful. And it's getting in the heads of Immortals a little bit, who have rotated to stack around expecting a B execute, but it seems that all of the team from Dignitas are going to be hitting A main.
Nobody is in the site defensively. Hunter's Fury is going to come through. Genghsta, nowhere to go for him. He'll fall. And maybe there is a conversation to be had about maybe an overcommitment for getting the ultimate into place when you already had an advantage, but better safe than sorry, says Dig, and it pans out for them with the kill. jcStani down to a single shot. And again, just a pistol. He's got a dark cover and a paranoia still to play with. The paranoia, if he throws this to the backside of the spike side, it actually will blind a couple. Tailwinding in is one, but jcStani hoping for some baited out opportunity to find some kills is not going to find anything. Psalm will actually grab 3. And you might sit there and say, sure, Dig was going to win this round, but the value in that is the fact that now he's earned himself the potential to go into an Empress, which is great because ShotUp has one of his own, and you're going into a rifle round in which ShotUp, you think, would probably consider using it here.
Yeah, there's still a big question mark on if MAKKA really needed to use that Hunter's Fury as he went over. He is 8-1, so it might be a case of just making sure that they have a healthy rotation of ultimates being used, not holding on to them too long. And if it confirms a round like that, then it's all the merrier, I suppose. Dignitas might be hitting B very quickly. The Omen could be in a potential area to paranoia across B main to have the peak coming out of the Jett. But he's more concerned if there's going to be a push in mid, maybe a dash play from the Jett in particular. But Orderus is trying to at least make some aggressive plays happen. Immortals are trying to stack up, potentially reading that kind of play.
Aldron's going to be set for Dig through the middle of the map, and it might catch information on where Genghsta's position. Actually, it looks like he will not, but keep an eye on what the defensive setup right now for Immortals is. You've got jcStani on the other side of the map. He has been known to use his From the Shadows quickly if he needs to rotate, so that's likely going to be the play, pending that he gets the call up from his teammates that they're going to need the help. And as ShotUp is able to find the first blood, there's the Cypher cage. jmoh is able to get there. There's the From the Shadows onto the site. It'll go through the back. It'll realize that, yes, supamen is on the site, but he's completely by himself, and it's going to take a really special moment here from either supamen or from MAKKA to likely get their way in. But as MAKKA falls, it's just going to be down to Supa to really make a play here, as really dephh can't do anything but try to stay alive in the middle of 2 different members from Immortals. Not going to be able to grab it. Supa's able to get the spike down at least, but that will be it as the Immortals find a very clean retake, only dropping 1.
Immortals having a really good read on that. I love the fact that both the Omens ulted in the same spot, and it was a case of chicken on who was actually going to be able to take Boathouse. But I respect that Immortals didn't just jump in gun-ho. It was a smooth retake for them. The 2 rounds that they've won so far have been straightforward defuses on full buys too. So it's not just that they're going in up against a save round. But to be fair, Dignitas haven't had to have an eco round yet. They're able to afford yet again. And the couple of rounds that Immortals have got so far at least haven't been able to be strung together. I think Lockdown is going to be a key play for Dignitas if they want to use it, rotating these ultimates out, but Immortals have 4 of them themselves. Hunter's Fury can easily counter it. The Blade Storm gets pulled out.
Operators well for Orderus. Spycam will track him up. Will be deleted. This is a risky peek for Orderus as well. ShotUp is hard scoping this angle. Actually, pardon me, no, he's not. He was just barely inside the doors over towards mid-market. And there might be an opportunity here, depending if you can catch someone lurking. You've also got dephh, who's playing mid-map. He's trying to open up some space and maybe even force this player in mid-market to peek one direction or the other. But as ShotUp does peek, he finds a kill to dephh, who was looking the wrong way. So now all of a sudden, your operators on the opposite side of the map. Dignitas are in a 3v question mark on this site. They do recognize that jmoh has his operator here, plus he was the one to hit the Blade Storm. Recon Bolt will scout that out, but down low, jcStani can't even find the first. So the overheal comes through. Hunter's Fury is going to be called out for Genghsta defensively, but he can't even stop the spike from being planted. jmoh is going to need to find a kill, can't grab Psalm. And now Dignitas, and what was a 3v question mark hit, come through cleanly with a spike plant, and now they have a 4v3 situation in front of them.
Blade Storm is still going to be in use on the attack. The Empress, ShotUp has available if he wants to try and clutch this out at least. There's going to be used to try and break on. Paranoia is good. It doesn't have a kill to follow up, but it stalls a bit more, and MAKKA is able to take advantage of that with a nice kill towards tree. Really good post plant coming out of Orderus. A double kill with the operator. Dignitas looking good, and they turned around the round where they had the first dephh. dephh went down.
Yeah.
He still has the lockdown ready to go for future rounds, but it's looking likely that Immortals will have to save yet again.
And this has just been a really nice display for Dignitas, just as, again, we were talking at the beginning of this matchup that this week so far, Dignitas have not played Ascent. And if you were to go back over to the Nerd Street Gamers closed qualifier, their showcases on this map were not great. Only winning a couple of rounds completely, 2 rounds in each of their matchups on attack, 2 in the first spot up, 2 in the other versus Envy. And so far, they're looking much more complete here. And like you mentioned, the info off of Genghsta's early recon bolt will see all 5 members, and that will actually force Dignitas to reconsider what they want to do for their execute. Yeah, they're going to reset. The Killjoy's in a nice position to ult, so might be able to use it as a bait, and it would work. Immortals are 3 people stacked over there. And that's exactly what it's going to be. It's a case of whether Immortals actually rotate around. The answer's pretty decisively yes. They've fallen for it completely. But it's just a utility coming out from the Killjoy. And they've realized that this is an opening for Dignitas on the B side. They're rotating around super quickly, actually, and they might be able to catch Dignitas as they're still hitting the site. This is a 50-50. A recon bolt defensively is good for able to find one, but Psalm is able to grab the trade. Aldrone is now also out. Shot up, able to work his way through mid-market to find one, but Orderus to continue to lock down the rotations. He's now trapped, though. Has to take a peek, and jmoh will punish. So a 2v3 situation. Dig still have not planted the spike yet. dephh, if he can catch timing, could even the odds, but no, it's jcStani at range to find the kill, and everything comes down to Supa. Spam shots just gone a bit awry, but as soon as his third cover expires, he's gonna have 2 people looking right at him. Genghsta was ready for it, and Immortals do hold successfully, but you're calling it is 100% correct, Ryan. The fact that Immortals rotate quickly and then can essentially 50-50 to the battle in front of Boathouse is the key to success there for Immortals to hold off on that rotation. Well, it was more the fact that, you know, like, I respect the bait from dephh, but teams have got really good at that. It's the same with breaches, right? When a Rolling Thunder comes onto that site, it's really easy as a defender to go, have they smoked it? Have we heard any flashes being used? Have we heard any other utility that isn't Killjoy? Nope, it's just Killjoy. It is 100% a fake. So they rotated just in time. Dignitas were a little bit slow. If they're dedicating to that kind of play, they really need to hit hard. It worked, but worked for about 10 seconds, honestly. It's a nice play from Immortals to turn that one around.
Here.
This time, Dignitas is going to take a much more methodical approach to round number 9. As if they lose this one, they'll be in trouble economically. So they definitely want to make sure they're capitalizing on as much information as possible. You do have some good motion over the middle of the map here for Dig. And I believe both players that were nearby in the way of Supamen and Orderus were able to stay away from the Aldrone that was sent. So Immortals, not really convinced on what's exactly going on, will actually rotate one member out of A. That's going to be Genghsta, who's going to be responsible for the middle of the map now. Is going to have a little bit of help considering that all the traps that are placed from Neptune are also right over the mid-market. Both teams have tried to do lurking play from the main Sentinel players, the Killjoy for Dig, the Cypher for Immortals. Not really finding a huge amount of success, but that's the play coming out of dephh, who's going to be pushing mid yet again. jmoh's got this angle locked down, and MAKKA's got a nice line up to bounce off the wall. And jmoh's got the dash, so he's going to be able to face and get out of there. deph's opened it up. The rotation has come in just enough that it's put jmoh off an aggressive angle. It's an opening for Dig. And there's no way Neptune can get here. He's got to move very, very slowly. But the information off another recon bolt is incredible. jcStani for 3. dephh able to find Neptune mid-map, keeps things in a 2v2, but time is a problem, and the spike is down on the site. Orderus is going to be forced to contest. He doesn't read jcStani in the corner, and jcStani for 5. The ace comes through, and Immortals now just down 1. I didn't even realize that it was him getting all the kills up to that point, even spotting out where the Killjoy was, who had wrapped around completely. But that was all set up from Genghsta. Another exceptional recon bolt. But that rotation, that was the difference. jmoh just running off that angle at the worst possible time. And that all comes from the play from dephh. jcStani waiting patiently. Another exceptional recon bolt that comes out of Genghsta to get all of the information. It's jcStani that gets the 5 kills. For Genghsta, pretty much 5 assists at that point. Unbelievable, man. jcStani continues to just impress. Dignitas now forced, as mentioned, without winning this last round, into an eco. Mostly going to be pistol upgrades for just about everybody. They do have the potential, maybe if they can get a couple of rifles, for an Empress to come out, but jmoh, he will lock down the free angle over through B main with the operator. Neptune finds the second neural. That'll be committed. This is going to be great in time for jcStani as he finds both players over through tree. Last one left is Psalm, and they know exactly where he is. jcStani working on 8 consecutively. Psalm will put him down, but Genghsta there for the absolute immediate trade. That'll be 5-5 now the tally, and Dig will come in round 11, now looking to purchase.
Neptune using the neural theft again might not have been necessary considering it was a save round coming out of Dig. Just 2 rounds left of this half and nothing to separate them so far. I really like Dig's attacking playstyle though. They have some nice splits across the map, really trying to control B and A main at the same time, whilst also putting a little bit of pressure on mid and tree now and again. Seems that it is going to be more of an A execute. They just have the Empress to work with when it comes to ultimate. jmoh's playing very aggressively in mid.
And he's going to find one for free. I was going to ask the question earlier with jmoh not being able to match up versus Orderus yet, mostly because he hasn't been able to afford the operator. Were we going to get to see another narrative that relied on jmoh finding value with the op? Since he's been able to afford it, though, he has been just as good as you need him to. So throw that conversation out the window, at least for now. We'll table the conversation and get back into round 11, in which Dig is down to a 4v5. This would be maybe an opportunity with the kill to look at an Empress to potentially come through. And MAKKA might just try to open up some space to see if Psalm can work on it. jmoh again holding the angle. No Empress will come through this round as jmoh finds his second kill on the Psalm.
Orderus with the attack operator is trying to hold on to mid, but Neptune was just anchoring there the whole time. Position is going to be given up by another recon bolt, and it's just these 2 attackers that are heading towards tree. Genghsta is waiting for them, and you have the wraparound. jmoh gets his third. They know exactly where MAKKA is at this point, and there is a pretty clean opening to go into the A site, but he's going to try and contest and fight towards tree. Going to run right to jmoh, who could get the fourth at this point with this nice little angle. He does so with a ghost. Some nice plays. Showed it where he needed to. And Immortals at least into halftime go up. Dignitas, I don't really think they have the money to buy proper. So a couple of Spectres are going to be coming out. 4 ultimates, though.
And, you know, here's the thing. If you're Immortals, you really needed to salvage this first half by going on this clean run. I mean, to this point, in the First Strike series, they have won 78% of their defensive rounds. So the fact that Dignitas, who we already mentioned, has not had an incredible showcase on the offense, specifically on Ascent, for them to come away with 5 as fast as they did, this is still okay if you're Dig. This time through, though, off of an abbreviated buy, they're going to look to get very aggressive. Oh, the tailwind gets body blocked by shot up, but Orderus is able to make use of it. Genghsta holding down the trigger, will be able to answer back with 2 of his own. Now Neptune, he's going to have to be the last one over through mid-market, getting some help from jmoh finally, but the lockdown will come through, the spike will be planted. We've got ourselves a 2v3 to finish out round 12.
The lockdown is just honestly going to bring Dignitas a bit of a breather and allow them to take some aggressive space. We saw this in the 3rd round with the Spectres that they had, but it seems that they want to dedicate to this, and I like it because dephh is now in a really tricky position to uproot if they don't check him. They're just going to smoke him off. Immortals need to get the idea up their head that they're still on the site, so I like this from Dig. dephh is going to poke through. Nobody's going to check him out. The spray is decent. jcStani, though, gets super onto the site. dephh is just trying to get out of line of sight for now. It's more a case of jmoh just stalling it out. jcStani, I think, was just going to full dedicate at that point regardless. And it means that Immortals go 7-5 up, but Dignitas made it so close. Switching sides. With a nice execute going on to B, but it's their time to protect the B site. They're going to be defending.
Look, Ryan, I think you're happy with this first half for Dig. I mean, granted, I think there was an opportunity to get 6 and maybe even 7 somewhere in those last 5 rounds, but you win the pistol, you win the follow-up, you get the spike down. Your first 5-7 rounds were great for you, and that's going to be a big confidence booster. It just comes down to now that you're going to your favored side on the defense. Again, there hasn't been a big sample size when it comes to Dig playing in the last week and a half on this map, but their defense has been the stronger of the 2 sides without question.
Ghosts across the board for the attacking side of Immortals. A Dig, only 1 player opting in for the armor. Everybody else is just brought the ghosts themselves. There is going to be a bit of a battle for A main, but the spike is over for B for Immortals, so they're planning to head there towards the later end of this round. No, this is just trying to find an opportunity to sneak by at least. Battle for this orb. But he sort of chickens out when he can't hit that shot. Gets a bit of intel, but only knows that there's 1 player over there. The Immortals are still in a good position, but haven't moved much since the round started.
Their cover will block off sight from dephh mid-map. We'll see if Immortals want to try to pull this through. And if they're going to fully commit to try to make their play over to B, the only member who's here technically defensively on the side is MAKKA. He will have a little bit of help from dephh, but Dignitas are heavily stacked over towards A. The only bit of good news and maybe a consideration here for the rotation for Dig once they realize that this hit is coming through is the fact that you do have the ability for Orderus or Supa for possibly hitting the long flank through B main. There's a trap wire in their way, but now it's just down to what MAKKA can find. He's still full HP. He finds himself one. Shot up does take down dephh mid-map, so he's got to hold his life for as long as possible. Recon bolt comes through. That's going to be a nice paranoid to try to help out MAKKA for a second. He's going to grab number 3, the 4th one right around the corner, and it's only half HP for jmoh. And whoa, almost getting him a chance for the ace, but Orderus will come to help. But what a defensive ult for MAKKA as Dig wins another pistol.
Yeah, the fact that Immortals ran in onto that site and couldn't get rid of that player or put really any pressure onto MAKKA, he seemed... yeah, under a bit of pressure, but comfortable in his positioning. Wasn't really too afraid for his life at this point. The Immortals didn't really have much utility after that paranoia comes down. They weren't going to smoke him off. It was just smart play, honestly, at that point. Another round for Dignitas to at least bring it closer. No force out of Immortals, which is key to note. Yet again, more of a default across the map, but potentially looking to put a bit of pressure towards mid at this point.
And this is something we've seen Immortals do a lot when it comes to them playing Ascent. They like to try to isolate picks mid-map. dephh is going to recognize the threat. Nanostorm's in a great spot. Paranoia's going to come through, so he'll instantly trigger this, and he's got some shock dart help from beyond. A lot of chip damage being sent through here. Even though dephh is low, he can still contest this, you would think. And MAKKA now all of a sudden has to respond. He's only good for 2. You thought maybe he had a 3rd and a 4th, but Orderus is able to pinch behind his play. And now the last one left alive is going to be Neptune on site, and Dignitas will overwhelm him, no problem. And they will take the expected following round, but a creative effort. Immortals at least able to punish and give themselves a look at the site. They just can't quite convert the kills when they needed it most.
MAKKA again is good to go for another Hunter's Fury very early on in this half. And you definitely need to pay attention to how Dignitas are playing on the defense for their retakes especially. They're really good at spreading out. If it's the B side that's being hit, from going around to B main, coming from CT, going through market, they like to split up and take a lot of map control and constrict the attackers. But it's whether a case of if Immortals try to face them. They can't really get much damage done to Dignitas before that spike gets planted. And that's where things start to look a little bit more awkward. A lot of space has already been taken from Immortals on B main, though. There's absolutely no pressure. MAKKA is playing off the site for the first time at this point. The Aldron is going to be a key indication that this is looking to be the site that's hit, and all MAKKA is able to do at this point, at least, is spray and pray.
But he's got a recon bolted a couple of seconds, plus a Hunter's Fury, and based on his position, it looks like he might want to use this to try to challenge. Still coming from A is going to be dephh. He's going to be there late, and MAKKA's actually going to commit to the Hunter's Fury blindly. No recon bolt, no Aldron to be used. A bit surprising. And he'll come away with absolutely no value off of it. He was trying to open up space. Orderus was trying to take advantage of that fact, but he gets dealt with for essentially first blood, and Psalm can't win the battle versus Shot Up. Now all of a sudden, you're in a really awful position if you're Dig. You've got 2 players sitting at B main. You're going to have to challenge this with the judge, of which at least dephh can find 1 kill, but I don't know. I'm a bit surprised that MAKKA doesn't even go for any of his intel gathering tools before he commits to the Hunter's Fury, and with that, Immortals take their first offensive round.
It wasn't even just that. It's FaZe did this quite a lot when he joined the T1 roster in a similar position with Ul, but because he was still sort of learning the map, the ramps, how high you needed to be to hit certain. It was more the fact that MAKKA wasn't even on target. He was like shooting into the ground. It was just a bit of an off angle for him to work with, which is interesting. It's not like he doesn't have experience on this agent. He's pretty much been playing it the whole time, and I'm pretty sure he played it on his previous roster too, right? So it's certainly a bit of an error, a mistake, but there's still an opportunity for Dignitas. There's still guns ready to go, but having an ultimate like that so early on and squandering it could bite you in the backside later on in the game.
We'll see if that round pays a difference maker in this one, which has been very back and forth thus far. Very heavy defensive stack for Dig up the middle of the map. Aldron's going to scout things out. You've also got Supa, who could throw his consideration into the middle. Neptune's going to be scouted. Do they try to spam him through these walls? Looks like they won't even bother. And as the spike will be corralled over by B main, it looks like it's going to rotate over towards A, in which defensively, it's just going to be Psalm and Supa.
Here.
We haven't really seen this A site being hit on by Immortals at this point. So notably, we don't know. It looks at least that Dignitas are happy to play retake. Sam is in an angle where he can easily dip out if needed. So he's not purely aggressing. Of course, has to dismiss if he wants to get out of there, but he's going to be able to meet them. Gets caught out. It's a big loss considering nobody from Immortals is able to trade. And no ultimates online to sort of bring this site back. It's looking like Immortals have the upper hand here.
Now you have no more flashes really to spend to try to work your way unless Supa's still holding onto a paranoia, which he is. And as he finds a kill over the tree, maybe there's an opportunity for them to still swing on this, but dephh is still 1.5 miles away. And so he's going to have to get here quickly as well if they're going to really play for this retake. Orderus is in a very vulnerable spot with this operator. He can really only check a couple of angles. So this for Dignitas has to come by way of the tree. Empress will be popped for Immortals who really want this 9th round. Shot up, playing from a low angle just underneath heaven. Doesn't see the information onto Orderus, and the paranoia does connect. So all of a sudden, it's MAKKA from the back. Supa as well. They combine for a couple in the long range. Stinger shots are good for dephh. A last-second hit for Dig on the retake is successful, and they'll tie the game up 8-8.
The paranoia was so good because you've got shot up on such an aggressive angle. If he gets a frag with Empress, you are going to really struggle to contain him because he will go invisible. He will just ruin your day. So that paranoia that actually came out of Supa was so good just to put him in more of a defensive position. It opened the flank for MAKKA to come through to save the day yet again. And Immortals should have had that, in all honesty. They had the opening, and Dignitas looked so lethargic for the retake. It took them so long to get there. But man, the pace that they hit when they actually went for it, that's a scary team. It's still a buy from both sides. But Dignitas not having any ultimates as him as Immortals. Really, it's just the From the Shadows available. The spike is in the hands of jcStani. He has had a couple of cute plays with the ultimate from that too.
Psalm will actually catch a considerable amount of information off the Lear. He heard a handful of players shooting at it, so now all of a sudden there will be a quick rotation for Immortals to get here. IMT trying to force their way in. Psalm is good for 1 and a second. Neptune will open up some space on the site, but Psalm finds a 3rd. Dismisses away, looking for the 4th, but needs to go to the reload. Tough timing here, and while that's all occurred, it's going to be jmoh to find a kill with the Bladestorm, leaving things to a 2v2. Psalm now on the Empress. Spike being planted by jcStani, but Psalm wants to contest the post point immediately. Not going to lock down the shots. Just down to dephh. 1v2 situation. Has a read on 1, but does he know where the 2nd is? Should hear the reload coming through. And as he checks the corner, he finds 1. Tries to transfer. Still sees 1 coming through. The lockdown is earned, and it will be spent. jcStani has to decide how he wants to play in. For some reason, dephh tries to take the challenge, and he gets dealt with. jcStani can just sit here and watch the lockdown not even come into play, and Immortals take a round.
I think he felt that at that point Stani was going to play a bit more aggro because he had to. He had no real choice at that point. It was a bit of a double bluff that came in from dephh. He lost the fight. I like the idea. It was very much on your feet thinking with an ultimate like that. But yet again, another scrappy round going the way of Immortals this time.
This goes here.
And I really like these executes onto the B site. They're able to get quite a lot done. It was certainly very messy. And when you're looking at Sam's play, he was so instrumental in how well our defense looked for a while. It was jmoh that came in and did some real damage. It's not going to be his name on the headlines for a round like that, but it's going to work out at least. It seems that Immortals are going to be buying up some at least. A couple of Spectres in hand. Actually seen the Bladestorm used too.
The paranoia push through doesn't actually come through successfully for Dig. Orderus was trying to get there with a little bit of support with this Bladestorm. He's going to find absolutely nothing. So now he's got the Spectre in hand. The Aldrin will be deleted before it can find too much information on A. And keep your eye on Psalm. The defensive Reyna is played very far forward through B main. This point of contact is almost maybe the entire round, and both players will be aware of it. Psalm is going to recognize that I need to keep my life. Lear will come through, and he will very safely and very wisely back away to make sure he keeps his life in play.
It was a really wise decision, especially with Immortals rotating around the way that they did. A-site is looking to be hit. Not really much for Dignitas to work with, both with guns and ults, and bodies, because they're in a 4 versus 5. It's again whether the case of if Immortals feel the need to use any ultimates. Orderus is going to get through for free. Another great recon bolt coming out, this time from MAKKA. And he's able to get a couple more at least at this point in a 1 versus 2. Genghsta trying to clear some of these angles. Quite happy to give up his positioning, but he can't check the 2 angles at once. It's a nice peek, it's a nice dash, a nice aggressive peek from Sam at the same time. Dignitas on the back foot, a player down, no solid guns in their hands. could stop Immortals building a couple of rounds at least, a trade in either side.
Well, if there was ever a time for Immortals to start putting together a streak, it would be right now, based on what we saw in the first half and how the second one has started. It's been literally the exact same setup as far as how these halves have gone. But this round will likely not be the one that Immortals find a lot of favor in, as they have to go to a little bit of a light buy situation. This has been a really competitive game through and through, and all the pieces that we're looking for as far as the questions we had for Immortals versus Spot Up, those have come with some pretty significant answers. We've had some good looks from both Shot Up and jmoh so far. For Dignitas on the other side, this little battle between the former Morning Light players is still at its highest peak, and we're getting a very back and forth affair because of it. This time, though, for Immortals on their light buy, their eco round, they're going to full stack through tree, and there is nobody even in the vicinity for dig. The closest player would be Supa, and Salm is actually in a position pushed through A long to where he could pinch this. It just comes down to how much information does Supa find right here.
Supa just saw a body, doesn't know how many are there, but is going to give it a good amount of distance. He isn't quite sure the buy that Immortals are working with, but it's mostly just classics as they're rotating their way around. Supa's going to try and bring out the paranoia. Luckily, the rest of Dig has got it on contain, because that could have been a real tragic hold at that point, as Neptune is able to get at least one. Dignitas are just trying to keep them in this position as much as possible, because Sam's got A main completely shut down.
Yeah, this is where the Predator became the prey. Immortals were looking to be a little bit cheeky. That's a great shock dart. We'll confirm it was half damage through, but Neptune still wins the battle. This is still doable. Hold on a second. We'll put a pause on that point coming out. Salm, though, does win a big kill, dismisses away, gets three that there is a player topside heaven, but Neptune's found a kill, and this Neuralcat will get some information, but not quite in time. Spike is down. jmoh, it's a 1v2, not able to do anything with the classic. And what I was about to say for the side of Immortals is I love the play. You move through Garden, you're looking to try to bait out the rotation and find kills of defenders coming from B to A, but unfortunately, they don't really get what they came for. And yeah, that was the instance where the Predators became the prey, but at least a couple weapons were salvaged to give Immortals a look at that round, just couldn't quite punch it home.
It was much closer than it needed to be if you're Dignitas.
Oh, for sure.
Their money has been relatively straightforward for the most part, but they're at least able to string a few more. It's another buy coming out of Immortals, who have been able to only do this a couple of times in a row for the most part. And 10-9 up. Ultimate's mostly available on the defense at this point, at least, because ready to go number 100. It's whether it does a little bit more than the last.
What a world this would be. Again, we are not 100% confident, but we're pretty positive that this was Immortals' pick. And if they were to drop this one, we'd go to Split next, a map that we've seen very little of Immortals on. And as Salm finds first blood, they're on their way to potentially confirming their 11th round, pending they can keep their numbers. Defensively, though, I just don't know how you push through this B site for Immortals. I mean, there's so many traps that are set up for them. You've got the potential of a player sitting mid-map in Salm, and you don't really have a lot of tools to break through this cleanly if you're IMT, at least.
Dignitas have always respected mid, though. They still have control of that, and it's a nice nano swarm that's going to bring Shot Up down. He just fully dedicates to it. It's the turret that actually gets the final blow. Nice play from dephh, using the utility in the right way. Shot Up's positioning is still going to be awkward as the turret gets a second. It's going to be top fragged by the end of it. It's Sam, sorry, that's holding on to market. And the spike is out in the open. There's very little that jmoh could do at this point. MVP, deph's turret, you got to say.
A little bit of a 6v5 going on there for Dig. jmoh really wants to hold on to this operator, but he's likely going to be chased. It would be punishing. There's no potential of a repurchase here for IMT. But are they fully going to get an angle on it? jmoh will take down one, but Supa's there for the trade. So big value. That's an operator that could be salvaged, and it will be. And now 11-9 goes the tally. And the point that I was trying to make from before, when it comes down to looking at Split for our second map, we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves, but that has been the cash cow for Dignitas over the last couple of weeks. And on the opposite side for Immortals, they have played it a total of 0 times here in the first strike. So, we'll see exactly what happens here as we get ourselves going in a must-needed round here for Immortals that are going to be hard-pressed to purchase.
Buy-up is going to be a little bit late. And they don't have many ultimates that they can rely on to get a frag to open it up for them. Again, it's going to be a B stack. Sam gets jcStani though. That's a big loss immediately at this point. Most importantly, Dignitas are pretty comfortable with the A main control. Just going to keep an eye on Tree. The Immortals have adjusted and postured themselves to be taking on an aggressive push out of Immortals. It was putting a bit of pressure to be main, but have reset. Are going to be pushing through mid. But Dignitas are prepped.
Supa will teleport away, just trying to stay safe. Again, based on the position for Dig, looks like they're going to be happy to play for a retake. They do have a Hunter's Fury available, and with the position, with Orderus through A long now, they're going to know that the only hit that could potentially come through is through B main or through mid-market. MAKKA for one will fall. No more opportunity for the Hunter's Fury. And Psalm, who's already in the Empress, he's going to watch one of his teammates fall. Nicely able to get the dismiss. The Invis comes through. He finds another. That's the third for Psalm. One more nearby. Dismisses away. Wants to take the chow. Knows exactly where Neptune is. And it's easy for 4 kills for Psalm. 12-9 up. And Immortals, this is not at all where you want to be. Map point here. You've got an Empress to play with, but this is not going to be a comfortable buy for them. What needs to be 3 rounds, 4 rounds in a row.
We just appreciate the Empress and the Reaver combining in this fashion. It's like a little cosplay coming out of Sam who gets the 4K. The screen is so dark and purple at that point with both of those stacked up on each other. The big match point on the map that they didn't get to pick. They're looking pretty convincing. Immortals have struggled to get a couple of rounds in a row. Their economy is constantly being hot and cold for them.
Yeah.
Dig have bolstered up for a few rounds. Even if they let this one go, they're going to be happy. But with the Hunter's Fury and the lockdown, there's a lot of opportunities for them to play for the retake. And you can see based off the fact that Dignitas are playing so far back, it's like the spawn doors haven't opened. They're more than happy to give Dignitas room. But honestly, Dignitas have still struggled to take it.
Yeah. This round for me... This round for me, it just has to. You have to call Shot Up's card here. He's got to be the guy to make a play. Empress is available. He's got to be the X factor to try to steal this round away from Dig. There's the Empress. It's a Vandal play for him. They're also coming through, but Orderus with the late peek takes down Shot Up for first blood. Second shot will go a bit awry, but Dig still holding strong. Have numbers nearby. The spike will be planted by Neptune. Pending the Hunter's Fury doesn't find a kill. And again, you cannot forfeit the life, so MAKKA, he's just trying to find information. Spike will go down, but there is some damage that will be confirmed. Lockdown still potentially to come through. dephh trying to place this one safely over towards Garden.
You should run.
Supamen with another kill. Now you've got a shock dart to come through. Recon bolt nearby. Can you find anything in the dark cover here for Neptune? No, MAKKA's going to spam it and find the kill. It's a 5v2. Immortals' last chance. Genghsta will find one and a second, but he's going to be detained. And wait a second, he doesn't see him. No way. And Stani finds another kill. No way Genghsta's able to just walk away from this. Now jcStani, he's got to look at Orderus, finds the kill. jcStani for 3, and Immortals steal away the round.
Nick, what was that? That was ridiculous. That is a play that's going in the books. Oh, Orderus is going to look back at that and he's going to cringe and mold himself into an early grave. He peeks in that direction like 3 times. I just want to hear the comms from Immortals' perspective there. They survived the Hunter's Fury. They survived the lockdown. That is a miracle at that point, to be fair. But Immortals, this is a great opening to bring it to overtime. The issue is that Dignitas have brought in double operators. They're going to be holding the extremities with a lot of aggression. Immortals need first blood here.
And so many ultimates were off the table. dephh, he's able to find first blood. The double operator setup will pan out.
I have the spike.
That was just a kill over through B main. Spike is still staying safe. And how about this? You have isolated Orderus, who's on the backside of line. He's taking a shot, and he's down to 30 HP, so Dig have to come to his rescue. A little bit of saving Private Ryan in the mix right here. There will be a trade, but at least he was able to find one. That'll keep the numbers in favor of Dig for now. And Psalm was getting a bit aggressive. He will back through, and while that has occurred, it's going to be jmoh who falls mid-map, and that's going to lead to, again, a big number situation for Dig trying to finish off this map.
Dignitas haven't really reacted to the recon bolt coming through. It's going to be a bit late. They could have snuck in otherwise, but Sam has got one. He knows that the last is there. Nice dismiss to just get out there when things were looking a little bit awkward. Genghsta now waiting for that peek to come in from MAKKA. He's got that utility. He's going to use it. The shot that forces him out on an angle. He sees all three of them. There's no real time to rotate. He's got to take these angles one by one. He is an operator staring at him. He's just trying to jiggle peek it. This is a gauntlet, but he's able to break it down bit by bit. It's almost an impossible task, but the amount of shots that Orderus missed, it doesn't matter. Sam gets his second. Dignitas looked good throughout their defending half, but man, Immortals had some pretty ridiculous moments.
There are more ridiculous moments in the back half of this map than I think we had the entirety of the NSG qualifier, at least the chance that I had a chance to cast over. Some insane stuff coming through, but almost a chance there at the end. You thought for Genghsta, he was so close to a recon bullet. The shock dart was just a bit off. Maybe he would have had a chance to clutch things up again for the side of Immortals, but they fall. And that's not just bad news for map number one. There are question marks surrounding what this Immortals team will be able to put together for Split, of which they've played a total of 0 times since the first strike qualifiers. And if you want to go back during the Ignition Series era, when they were playing with their initial roster, they were only 5-12 on this map with a pretty atrocious stat line for their attack. So you feel a little bit nervous about this. That's been their hard stuck ban, I would imagine, for the last couple of weeks. And now they're going to have to play Dig here. And that's not great news because Dignitas have, again, used this map as a bit of a cash cow over the last week and a half, including in their run so far through this first UMG Open qualifier.
I think just even then, like looking on Ascent, which I think is a very straightforward vanilla map, it's a great way to get an indication on how these teams play. You could see it in the kill feed, but honestly, I think it was just pound for pound. Dig felt that they were just a much stronger team. You had some really impressive plays out of Genghsta. jmoh had his certain sections where he started to show up, but jcStani, again, top fragging for his team. But the way that Dig played around certain positions, namely their ultimates, other than that MAKKA whiff that we saw with the Hunter's Fury, they played it pretty much, perfect. But Immortals just had so many like improvisational skills and a little bit of luck, I think, when it came to that Killjoy lockdown that came through. This could still be really close. Immortals, as you mentioned, is just a big question mark on this map. But with the fact of how consistent and how strong Dignitas